Few names in American history provoke as many conflicting reactions as the Rockefeller family. When people speak of this legendary dynasty, they are not only referring to a powerful business empire. Behind their immense wealth lies a compelling story of ambition, innovation, and an unbreakable determination to overcome adversity. But before they became a symbol of prestige, where did they begin? How did a boy raised in poverty manage to build a financial and business empire that helped shape American history? And what lessons remain from this extraordinary journey? John Davison Rockefeller was born in 1839 on a small farm in Richford, New York, the second son of a poor family. He learned early about the harsh realities of life. His mother, Eliza, was a strict and devout woman who instilled in her children the values of sacrifice and frugality. From a young age, John recorded every expense in a small notebook to manage money carefully. His father, William, better known by the infamous nickname Devil Bill, was the opposite, a traveling con artist and salesman of fake miracle cures. Bill wandered from place to place, often disappearing for months or even years. He occasionally returned home with boxes of goods and wads of cash, but also with debts sometimes reaching $1,000, an enormous sum at the time. John later described his childhood as a strange form of training, almost like being taught business from the cradle. Devil Bill frequently made deals with his sons, often cheating them on purpose to sharpen their instincts. He charged them high interest on small loans, demanded repayment without warning, and forced them to figure out solutions. John disliked these lessons, yet he absorbed them completely. From his father, he learned cunning and flexibility. From his mother, endurance and discipline. These traits would shape him into a formidable young businessman. In 1849, the family suffered a devastating blow. Bill was accused of raping a household servant. Instead of facing the charges, he fled, leaving his family to deal with the shame. The incident deeply scarred 10-year-old John. Seeking comfort, he gravitated toward the local Baptist church. Each Sunday, when the collection plate passed around, his mother urged him to donate a few coins. He soon connected church with giving, and one pastor told him, "Make as much money as you can and give away as much as you can." John later said that, in that moment, the financial philosophy of his life was set. A few years later, Bill returned charges unresolved due to lack of evidence and moved the family to Cleveland. But the relocation masked a darker truth. John soon discovered that his father had a second wife under a false identity. Shortly after, Bill vanished again, leaving Eliza alone with 5 children in a strange city. She struggled to make ends meet, while John was forced to contribute financially and eventually quit school to help support the family. In 1855, at age 16, he secured a job as an assistant bookkeeper at Hewitt & Tuttle, a produce commission firm in Cleveland, earning 50 cents a day, his first step toward greatness. His meticulous work ethic immediately stood out. He inspected every invoice carefully and corrected even the smallest error. His attention to detail, patience, and discipline set him apart, despite his demanding work. John continued tracking every cent he spent, treating numbers as sacred. His ledger became a second conscience, guiding his daily life. After a few years, through strict savings and a $1,000 loan from his father at interest. Of course, he accumulated enough capital to start his own business. At age 18, he entered the world of buying and selling meats and grains, his first entrepreneurial venture. Soon after, a life-changing opportunity appeared. The era of Standard Oil began as the oil boom exploded across Pennsylvania. In 1859, the first commercial oil well was successfully drilled in Titusville, igniting a frenzy in this young industry. Thousands of prospectors swarmed to the black gold fields in hopes of striking it rich. But John Rockefeller saw things differently. Instead of taking the risky road of drilling, he recognized a far greater opportunity: refining and distributing oil. In 1863, he partnered with Maurice B. Clark to establish his first oil refinery in Cleveland, strategically located near a railway line connected directly to the oil fields. Low transportation costs and efficient distribution allowed the business to thrive. Rockefeller bet his entire future on this young industry. He borrowed tens of thousands of dollars, worth millions today, to reinvest continuously. He believed deeply that both he and the young nation of America were destined to rise on the wave of oil. At the same time, Rockefeller continued his lifelong religious devotion and charitable habits. Even as a modest office worker, he had paid to free a slave and donated to a Catholic orphanage. As he grew wealthier, his contributions expanded, especially to churches in Cleveland. In 1865, while Clark wanted to pull back, Rockefeller saw aggressive expansion. He bought out Clark's shares, brought in his brother William and several family members as investors, and soon multiplied production and profits fourfold. By 1870, Rockefeller was ready for a monumental move. He merged 5 refineries to form Standard Oil, the seed of the empire that would later control nearly the entire American oil industry. This was not just another oil company, it was a revolution in business operations. Rockefeller implemented advanced management systems far ahead of his time, optimizing production, tightening cost control, and building sophisticated distribution networks. Every detail was calculated with precision. But the most decisive part of Rockefeller's strategy was eliminating competition. Every decision he made revolved around absolute control of the market. Initially, he cooperated with rivals and shared profits to persuade them into adopting Standard Oil's standards. Later, he systematically crushed them using any tactic necessary. Sometimes he triggered brutal price wars that bled competitors dry. Other times he simply bought them out. Many resisted and refused to sell their output to Standard Oil's network. In response, Rockefeller employed even harsher methods. He forged strategic alliances with major railroads, negotiating secret transportation rebates that cut Standard Oil's shipping costs by up to 50%, giving him an unbeatable advantage. This deal crushed competitors, who could not survive the cost imbalance and were forced to choose merge or die. When necessary, Rockefeller cut off their access to refining chemicals, leaving them unable to produce. At other times, he bought up all the available storage barrels or tanker cars, preventing rivals from transporting their oil. Standard Oil's control was so tight that no outside company could function, let alone compete. These aggressive tactics were devastatingly effective. Within months, Standard Oil absorbed 22 of Cleveland's 26 refineries. By 1879, at age 40, Rockefeller controlled 90% of the world's refining capacity. A staggering level of dominance with profound geopolitical implications. However, such absolute monopoly inevitably sparked public outrage. Rockefeller was increasingly portrayed as a robber baron, a ruthless dictator of industry. Investigations, hearings, and lawsuits multiplied. He was summoned repeatedly to testify. In 1897, Rockefeller formally retired from daily operations at Standard Oil but remained its chairman. Yet the legal and ethical controversies surrounding Standard Oil only intensified. In 1901, Ida Tarbell, a determined investigative journalist at McClure's magazine, launched a groundbreaking expose on Rockefeller. Her meticulous research revealed the company's secret railroad deals, bribery, predatory acquisitions, and coercive tactics. The series shocked the nation. Even President Theodore Roosevelt publicly condemned Rockefeller as a lawbreaker. Writer Upton Sinclair declared that no honest person should work with him. Public fury escalated. Rockefeller received threats and hate mail. The harshest blow came when Tarbell exposed the scandalous past of his father. Devil Bill, a bigamist, a fraudster, and a man once accused of rape. Rockefeller remained silent, as he had learned from his mother's quiet endurance. In 1911, after years of investigations and court battles, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled Standard Oil in violation of antitrust laws and ordered it to break up into over 30 smaller companies. Many assumed this would destroy Rockefeller's empire, but history proved otherwise. The breakup made the individual companies such as Exxon, Chevron, and Mobil far more valuable. Their stock prices doubled and even tripled within years. Rockefeller's personal fortune soared, making him the first U.S. dollar billionaire in history, with wealth approaching 2% of the entire American economy. His luck didn't end there. Just as electric lighting threatened to reduce demand for oil, the automobile industry boomed. Gasoline suddenly became the dominant fuel of the new century, reviving Standard Oil's descendants and expanding the Rockefeller fortune even more. Rockefeller's son would become one of the major beneficiaries of this growth. The Ludlow Massacre, Jr.'s darkest hour. On April 20th, 1914, chaos erupted in Ludlow, Colorado. National Guard troops opened fire on striking miners living in tent colonies owned by the Rockefeller-controlled Colorado Fuel and Iron Company. The violent clash lasted 14 hours and left at least 21 people dead, including 2 women and 11 children. The tragedy became known as the Ludlow Massacre. For the first time, public outrage focused not on John D. Rockefeller Sr., but directly on Jr. He was blamed for the deaths, condemned nationwide as the heir to an empire built on exploitation. The press denounced him, activists vilified him, and the Rockefeller family faced unprecedented backlash. Jr. feared for the future of the family legacy. Yet, out of the ashes of this tragedy, Jr. charted a new path, determined to repair the damage. He personally traveled to Ludlow, a groundbreaking step at the time for an industrialist. He met with workers and their families, listened to their grievances, and implemented reforms that significantly improved labor conditions. This moment became the turning point of his life. It marked the beginning of a decades-long mission to rebuild the Rockefeller name through compassion, philanthropy, and social progress. Historian Ron Chernow once remarked, "If you told anyone in America back then that one day Rockefeller would be associated with good deeds rather than greed, no one would have believed you." Jr. made that transformation possible. Over time, he became a national symbol of responsible wealth and humanitarian leadership, donating millions to medicine, education, the arts, and public institutions. From the ashes of Standard Oil's scandals emerged a new model of ethical philanthropy. In 1937, John D. Rockefeller Sr. died at age 97. His funeral was held at the family estate in Pocantico Hills. For 5 minutes, Standard Oil operations around the world stopped to honor the man who built the empire. John D. Rockefeller Jr., known simply as Jr. to distinguish him from his legendary father, was the sole heir to the vast Rockefeller fortune. Born in 1874, he grew up under strict discipline and moral expectations. From childhood, he was taught frugality, careful accounting, and charitable giving. But these expectations came with immense pressure. Being the only son and designated successor placed a crushing weight on his shoulders, and Jr. suffered 2 nervous breakdowns before turning 18. He entered Brown University in 1893, maintaining the same rigorous habit of recording every expense in his ledger. Despite his family's immense wealth, he lived simply. College life, however, exposed him to experiences he had previously been forbidden: attending theater performances, participating in social activities, even trying smoking. It was during this period that he met his future wife, Abby Aldrich, a charming young woman from a powerful Rhode Island family. In 1897, after graduating, Jr. officially joined Standard Oil with hopes of working alongside his father. But reality disappointed him. Instead of receiving clear responsibilities, he was placed in an office with little guidance, an empty desk, vague tasks, and no direction. Eager to prove himself, he made a disastrous attempt at stock speculation, misled by a shady speculator. He lost $1 million of family money, a humiliating mistake for the heir to America's greatest fortune. Over time, Jr. realized he was fundamentally different from his father. He lacked the instinct for ruthless capitalism and had no taste for crushing competitors. In fact, he sympathized with rivals and often sought ways to help them financially. When Standard Oil was forced to reorganize in the early 1910s, Jr. seized the opportunity to withdraw from major leadership duties and redirect his life toward what truly inspired him: philanthropy and preserving the Rockefeller legacy. In 1913, Jr. and his father founded the Rockefeller Foundation. With an initial endowment of $100 million, its mission to promote the well-being of humanity throughout the world soon made it one of the largest philanthropic institutions in history. The Rockefeller name, once associated with greed, began to transform into a symbol of giving. But just as the public anger over Standard Oil began to fade, a new crisis threatened to destroy the Rockefeller reputation entirely. By the 1930s, the Rockefeller family had largely shed its earlier reputation for controversy and monopolistic ruthlessness. Most descendants focused on social causes, the arts, étoile, and charitable work. However, one member stood apart: Nelson Aldrich Rockefeller, Jr.'s second son. Born in 1908, Nelson inherited many traits from his grandfather, John D. Rockefeller Sr.: charisma, leadership ability, and an unmistakable thirst for power. Despite numerous personal and political challenges, he eventually rose to become the governor of New York and later the vice president of the United States. Yet, his career was overshadowed by a lingering sense of unfulfilled ambition. Nelson had once been a leading contender for the Republican presidential nomination, but his divorce from his wife of 30 years and his remarriage during a politically sensitive period turned public opinion against him. These personal choices derailed his presidential aspirations, ultimately preventing the Rockefeller family from reaching the pinnacle of American political power, a feat that another New York business titan, Donald Trump, would achieve generations later. Meanwhile, other children of John D. Rockefeller Jr. left their own marks in diverse fields. Abigail and John III became respected philanthropists. Lawrence was a pioneer in conservation and environmental preservation. David Rockefeller became chairman of Chase Manhattan Bank and one of the most influential bankers in the world. Winthrop Rockefeller entered politics and was elected governor of Arkansas in 1966. Despite their outward success, serious tension simmered within the family. After years in politics, Nelson returned with the expectation that he would resume leadership of family affairs, something he had handled previously. But his older brother, John D. Rockefeller III, opposed him and asserted his own authority in the family hierarchy. Their rivalry intensified, reaching a breaking point when some of the grandchildren leaked internal family disputes to the media. This crisis culminated in a controversial 1976 book exposing private details about the Rockefellers, portraying them as a family with everything except emotional closeness. Nelson was furious. He denounced the grandchildren involved, calling them disloyal, ungrateful, and irresponsible. According to him, aside from a few exceptions, they were unfit to be entrusted with the family's institutions. Although tension eventually eased among the younger generation, the two brothers John III and Nelson never reconciled. John D. Rockefeller III died in a tragic car accident near his home in Pocantico in July 1978. Nelson passed away only 6 months later. In the 21st century, the Rockefeller family remains one of the wealthiest and most influential dynasties in the United States. However, their power has diminished significantly compared to their peak during the 20th century. According to Forbes, the Rockefeller family's total net worth is estimated at around $10 billion, still enormous, but now divided among many descendants across several generations. As a result, no individual Rockefeller ranks among the richest Americans today. Even so, the family continues to wield considerable influence through the charitable organizations and investment foundations they established, such as the Rockefeller Foundation and the Rockefeller Brothers Fund. These institutions focus on fields including public health, education, scientific research, and sustainable development. Politically, several Rockefellers remain active, though the family's direct political power is no longer as dominant as it once was. A notable example is former U.S. Senator J. Rockefeller, who maintained a long and respected political career. The public also recognizes the family through prominent modern figures such as Professor Stephen Clark Rockefeller and heiress Ariana Rockefeller. Although the Rockefellers are no longer a ruling force in American industry or politics, they remain a symbol of wealth, philanthropy, and enduring social influence. Their story, from humble beginnings to unmatched economic dominance in the 20th century, illustrates a rare and powerful model of long-term success. Over just half a century, the Rockefeller empire grew into a near uncontested giant that shaped the American economy. Through time, the family's legacy has become a testament to both ambition and controversy. They embody the paradox of American prosperity: extraordinary achievement intertwined with equally extraordinary criticism. In the end, the Rockefellers stand as one of the greatest examples of sustainable success marked by triumph, turbulence, and transformation